Hi everyone, my name is Dan Price and I'm one of the coaches here in Victoria with the Royals in the Western Hockey League. Today we're going to talk about checking for offense and specifically a technique or a tactic that we teach here in Victoria. Just one way to do things. I know there are many, but it's something that we found to be successful with our players and with our team. And the acronym, as you can see on the slide, is SAACC, S-A-A-C-C. And that stands for stick, angle, accelerate, contact, contain. And I'll talk about each of those components in more detail as we move forward through the presentation. The reason that we're talking about this as an offensive concept is because we've really found that when this is applied correctly and consistently, the percentage of offensive retrievals of puck possession overall really does tend to increase. Scoring chances increase, penalties taken and penalty kills go down. And so that is the way that we teach this with our players, is as much as it is a defensive concept, it really is an offensive concept because it relates quickly and translates quickly into puck possession. So we found that can help create some player buy-in and player belief, in conveying it in that way. So I just want to give a quick thanks here to the assistant coaches who helped with the presentation. This definitely was a collaborative effort, not just me by any means, but JF as an example, our full-time assistant coach, heavily involved in the video compilation and editing, in addition to the content and the technical side of the presentation. And he does a great job of teaching this, and all of our techniques and tactics here in Victoria every day. So big thanks to JF and to the rest of the assistant coaches as well. So Doug Bodger, Jeff Compton, Wayne Rollison, and Lyndon Sammartino, all pictured here. They just do a tremendous job, again, in this area and all the facets of the game, teaching and player support. So just want to thank the staff. This was definitely a collaborative effort. So moving into the concept here, before we look at the hockey video, I'm actually going to show you two football videos. One is from New England. You can see that pictured here. And the next one will be the Seattle Seahawks. And it'll be Pete Carroll talking over that video. And the reason for this is because we want to try to draw the analogy here of some things that in our opinion are very well coached and very well described in football. And so the concept here with the SAACC technique in hockey is it about retrieving, possession of the puck. Hitting, physicality, those things are very important, of course, but retrieval of the puck and puck possession through checking. And it's one thing to make a big hit, and that's important. We understand the value of the physicality of the game, wearing the opponent down, creating a psychological advantage, applying pressure, etc. But this specific technique, as far as checking to retrieve possession of the puck, we found to be a huge advantage. And so we do make that distinction with our players, checking versus hitting. Football, obviously, clearly one of the most collision-based and physical sports that exists. And this is from Teddy Bruschi, this clip, back in 2004. And this is one of the Patriots championship years. And the clip you're going to see from Teddy Bruschi is him talking about that concept. Yes, you want to be physical in football. Yes, you want to hit. But at the end of the day, really, it's about tackling, because tackling gets you possession of the ball. And it's all about having the ball.
Play action, going to be hit. Sack, fumble. Ball is loose. Picked up by Richard Seymour at the 40. Richard Seymour goes the distance. Touchdown. Patriots.
Yeah, really, you know what it is? It's my dad talking. Go get the ball, Ted. That's what he would always tell me. You can tackle guys and you can hit guys as hard as you can. But what this game is all about is that ball that they're holding. What he said has stuck with me for a long time, and it turns out the old man was right.
Fires to the left, and immediately dragged out of the 41. And they were the Patriots have the football. Teddy Bruschi, the man.
The play was a screenplay, and I sort of read that the way the lineman action, how they sort of come out, that they're setting up a wall for a running back on a screenplay, and I read the screenplay, was able to beat one of the blockers and then put the hit on Dominic Rhodes and take the ball away.
Teddy Bruschi made the tackle, and Bruschi ripped it right out of his hands, and the Patriots have the football.
Me taking that ball was sort of taking the hopes and dreams of all these other teams, especially the Indianapolis Colts, and telling them, you're not going to take this from us. We're going to take it from you, just like I'm taking this ball from this running back.
I think this is what they was looking for. They ain't got it. They ain't got it.
Okay, and so you can really see that concept there from Brewski and obviously how passionate he is about it, but a very physical player at a very physical position in one of the most physical sports. And you heard that from him as far as his philosophy on tackling. Yes, be physical. Yes, you can hit hard, but it's really all about the technique to get you the ball back. And you noticed even the use of his hands there, which we can draw the analogy of using our stick to help separate the puck from the puck carrier. A lot of great analogies there, which we think really apply to hockey. We're going to go further with that concept before we get into the hockey video. And this is an excerpt, a small excerpt from the Seahawks tackling video. It's an instructional video that Pete Carroll and his staff put together a few years ago to talk about their philosophy of tackling. And obviously they're a great and very physical defensive team, and also how they teach it. I'd like you to watch for, as we look at this clip and listen to him speaking, is the terminology he uses. The language, how clear and descriptive it is, and then also the value-based philosophy that he describes. What's really important to them as a team to win, and also to respect the game, to execute it physically but safely, and also to give them their greatest possible competitive advantage.
Hi, this is Coach Pete Carroll of the Seattle Seahawks. And thanks to the leadership of assistant head coach Rocky Seto, we've produced our 2015 tackling video. This is an updated edition of the tackling video we released last year, and it features some new points of emphasis and a review of the foundational elements of our tackling system. As we all know, basic fundamentals must be taught and reviewed constantly. This is a system we've been teaching and utilizing for the last 5 years at the Seahawks and since our days at SC. To summarize, the tackling system features leverage-based shoulder tackling and a major emphasis on taking the head out of tackling. We strike with our leverage shoulder and keep our helmets on our leverage side, but out of the tackle. We found our style to be successful in the league and in college, and we believe it could be employed on all levels. We're passionate about teaching this style of tackling because we desire to keep the standards of the game high and make the game as safe as possible. Our passion in this video is to maintain the physical integrity of the game while developing safer tackling techniques. We desire to play the game as tough as it is meant to be played, while also making the game safer. We hope you'll find this interesting and you'll enjoy watching the following film. Tracking. We're a shoulder tackling team based on leverage. Our tackling system begins with tracking because we focus on shoulder tackling based on leverage. We focus on a technique called run and gather. In practice, linebackers go through a run and gather tracking drill. Number 58 works hard to maintain his leverage as he adjusts to that moving target.
Okay, so let's think through some of the concepts there that Coach Carroll was talking about and some of the very important language. So he talks about the basic foundational elements of their tackling system. And to me, that's really instructive, the fact that they view it as a tackling system, something that's repeatable, something that's clear and sequential, that they can teach to their players for execution in practices and games. The fact that those fundamentals are taught and revisited constantly. The use of the word leverage, which we're actually going to talk about quite extensively today as a reflection of this SAC acronym and what that actually means for positional advantage and also physical advantage. The use of the shoulder, so shoulder tackling in their system, shoulder checking in our system of hockey. Taking the head out of tackling, critically important obviously in the NFL and critically important in the game of hockey. The fact that it can be employed at all levels, so right from the grassroots level all the way up for them through college and the NFL. And the same with hockey, from the grassroots minor hockey level right through junior and the NHL. We believe this SAC technique can be employed successfully. Keeping the standards of the game high and making it as safe as possible, and maintaining the physical integrity of the game. So that's, again, a point I really want to emphasize is this technique is not designed to reduce physicality. It's just designed to apply it in a certain way and an advantageous and safe way. And then you heard him at the end, while developing safer tackling techniques. And this applies to this checking system as well. Now, this is a screenshot of the website from USA Football, their football development program. And you can see here, I'm just going to highlight this with the arrow, this pillar of leverage. And it is definitely a foundational pillar of how they teach the game and how they teach tackling. And the overview here, in my opinion, is very instructive. And it's something that we can take a lot away from as far as their terminology, and how it applies to checking and to hockey. So they talk about leverage being a fundamental skill and a term, so there's the language component, used to make quick decisions and maintain proper body position relative to the ball carrier, or in our case, the puck carrier, during dynamic play. Obviously very applicable to hockey. Quick decisions, proper position, and during dynamic play. They call this a shoulder tackling system. And again, we're talking about here a shoulder checking system. And they define leverage as the angle and approach tacklers take to the ball carrier. So going back quickly to that SAC acronym, the angle and approach with our stick and with our skating and checking path that we take to the puck carrier. So that is what we would call positional leverage, using the stick and angle, the first two aspects of that acronym, to create positional leverage, an advantage moving from the inside of the ice to the outside of the ice, using the boards to your advantage and your teammates to your advantage as well, to create this positional leverage. And then taking into account his or her role from the defensive play call or situation, their location, their opponent, any obstructions, so other players, the boards, etc. And then for us, we view that leverage concept in an additional way, which is once you've used the stick and the angle, the idea of the acceleration, contact, and the containment, that's your physical leverage. So that's the biomechanical ability now to apply the check and achieve the goal, which is to separate the puck from the puck carrier and get possession, for you and for your team. So this is it, and we're going to show you two game clips of this acronym from an overview perspective. So the concept being employed and applied very well in a game situation: stick, angle, accelerate, contact, contain. And then we're going to break it down with a little bit of practice footage and move through each of these 5 elements and how they apply. So I want you to watch this player, the left defenseman for Tri-Cities. This is a few years ago. This player is Dryden Dow. And I want you to watch, as I let the clip play, and then I'll rewind it, his stick and how he's influencing the puck, his angle to steer and gather the puck carrier. So he's now creating his positional leverage. And then the acceleration through his athleticism and leg drive, the contact, shoulder to shoulder, applying the check, and then the containment, maintaining D-side position on the puck carrier. So here's again, let's watch Dryden, and you can see the stick, first of all, influencing and helping him gather the puck carrier towards a position of advantage. You can see the stick reapplied here as well, and the angle, that smooth path, he decides to skate forwards here, but this could easily be applied in rush defend, as we'll see later in the presentation. Maintains the athletic posture for the acceleration, and you can see he's working the entire time to maintain his positional leverage, so he can apply the physical leverage. So here he is with that athletic posture, accelerating, driving his legs to apply the check. Here's the contact and the check itself, shoulder to shoulder. And then now watch him work hard to stay in control here. Doesn't allow himself to bounce off and go flying into the glass or the corner. He works very hard right there to reestablish his position. That's the containment element. So now he's got a positional advantage, whether it be defensively to play in D-zone coverage or to box out, or offensively to join the rush as potentially a fourth attacker. And similarly, this is Tri-Cities again a few years ago. Left defenseman, although I know this is a right shot. This is Justin Hamonic, and I want you to watch him apply all these 5 elements of the technique as well. So there's the stick, taking away time and space, minimizing the Portland players' options as far as passing and shooting lanes, also being very aggressive with the stick and precise. So taking away time and space and applying psychological pressure as well, disrupting the puck. You can see his feet and his hips, changing path there to make sure that he is maintaining an appropriate angle. That helps him avoid inadvertently, let's say, taking a kneeing penalty or an elbowing penalty if he were to get off balance or the Portland player were to be evasive. And it allows him to continue developing that positional leverage to steer the player where he wants him to go. Here's the acceleration, athletic posture, driving through the legs, the contact, and then the containment, shoulder to shoulder, and maintaining position. So now a big offensive advantage for Tri-Cities. They can easily recover the puck and generate an offensive opportunity. He can join that, or if anything breaks down, he's in great defensive position as well. So again, this is why we teach this as an offensive concept. Just a few seconds of work on the puck with a very clear and hopefully easily applied technique. And then now we get to go play offense individually and as a team. So these are two clips of this being worked on in practice. Very, very basic drill. As you can see, it's two players involved in a small space, small area below the tops of the circles. And you'll see this is the retriever. So using the example of that last clip, the Portland player, this would be the defender. So using the example of the last clip, this would be Justin Hamonic, let's say. And you can see all 5 of these elements being applied. So there's the stick beginning to influence the path of the puck carrier and to eliminate options. Here's the player adjusting his angle and also deciding and influencing where he wants that puck carrier to go. So it's proactive, not just reactive. You can see him there maintaining the stick position. He's closing quickly, but not in control. So it's not reckless. He's not flying in and ending up missing the player or flying into the glass. It's not a straight line perpendicular approach. He's approaching with an angle. So in all those ways, he's created and sustained positional leverage. And now through the athletic posture, which you can see there, he's able to load the legs and accelerate. So that's driving through the legs to apply the check, shoulder to shoulder and hip to hip. He continues to accelerate to apply the check. And now he's checking through the hands as well to give him an even bigger advantage as far as separating the puck from the puck carrier. And now the containment, he maintains that position. He can box out on D side. He can recover into the house, let's say, for D zone coverage, or he can take the puck and go, and he can create offense. So again, another reason why we call this an offensive concept as much as it is a defensive one. Same thing on the other side. Watch the player in red defending. There's the stick and there's the angle. Starting to gather using the Seahawks terminology and influence the player where he would like him to go away from the net and towards the boards. He's got to work hard now to maintain not just that positional leverage, but the physical biomechanical leverage as well. And you can see him doing that, constantly resetting the stick, the angle, so he can then accelerate, make contact, and contain. And then there he goes now with the puck and the offensive opportunity. Let's run that back and watch it. Stick, angle, maintains it, accelerate, contact, contain, and it's his puck and his team's puck. So we see an opportunity here, a really large opportunity in the game, not just to teach, checking safely. I know it's very well taught at all levels, but just to try to break it down and create maybe a different way of looking at things that can help identify the component parts and help coaches and players understand, okay, what went well, why did it work, or if it broke down, what specific element or elements maybe weren't in place that we can then easily identify and improve. And so this is just a graphic to illustrate that. Arizona on the left, after having applied the technique, and they have now puck possession and they're ready to break out of the zone, versus in this example, you'll see this clip in the presentation. This is Nashville on the forecheck in this year's playoffs, and it's actually a great clip. It's fast, it's physical, there's great aggression and physicality there. It's legal and clean. But you can see where the puck is right here in relation to the F1 stick position. And so our view is that this isn't wrong, but could there be a greater advantage created by applying the sack technique in the sense of getting possession of the puck in the offensive zone? And when you see the video, you'll see that in this case, the puck is actually easily retrieved and broken out by Arizona. So great intention by Nashville here, but in our view, maybe a way that could be done in this particular situation a little bit more effectively. So here's an example, and we're going to watch Victoria in white. There's F1, and now watch F3 above, and then I'll back it up. Okay, so what do we take away from this? We see F1, very good job on the first two elements. So creating the positional leverage, excellent stick, excellent angle. He's influenced the puck carrier and the puck. Where does he want the puck to go? And even though in many circumstances, he would actually create the turnover himself and have the puck himself, or his next closest support would have the puck, at very least, he's influenced it to a place that's predictable, and it allows F3 above them and the strong side D to read where that puck is going and then collaborate in the defensive effort. So first two elements, stick and angle, are applied here. The physical leverage, the accelerate, contact, and contain are not, but the puck has moved and he's beginning to recover. But now watch this player as F3. Very good player on the team and a very good player at the time. He's in the KHL now, so he's having a great pro career. So this isn't critical, but you can see the intention here to really deliver a forceful check, and we love that intention. There are a lot of advantages to that, but based on the stick position, you can see how easy it is for Prince George here to make that play through an open passing lane into the middle of the ice. And now Victoria, instead of maybe having an offensive zone opportunity, is now chasing and in a position of disadvantage. So that's the reason for the importance and application of that part of the technique. So let's break that down then. Now let's look at the sticks. We talked about the concept, why it's important. We've talked about what it is, how does it all fit together. We've talked about the opportunity. You can have the puck or you can not have the puck. And now let's look at each of the 5 different components. So here's the stick to begin with. So I want you to watch Victoria's F1 in white. This is number 10. And Byram for Vancouver has the puck here. So obviously a world-class player. He's about to make a very good play. And Victoria doesn't have a great position of advantage right now. You can see F1 for Victoria is quite far away from the puck. There's a lot of open ice. Doesn't have really an opportunity to influence or steer Byram where he would like him to go. So his positional leverage, his positional advantage is limited. But he can use his stick. And that little bit of extra extension as far as creating the rushed play, the psychological pressure, minimizing options for the puck carrier actually really has a huge impact on this play. So Byram makes an excellent play. Aerial pass, gets it over the stick, gets it to an area where his winger can hopefully retrieve it, but it's not exactly what he wanted to do in that situation. You can see the trajectory of the puck changes. It's in the air now and bouncing. It's not directly at where he wanted it to be targeted to. And it allows Victoria now, reading off of that play, to move in from above and take advantage of a little bit of the chaos there. So from the moment F1 for Victoria extended his stick, even though he never touched the puck, he influenced the play and contributed in such a way that 11 seconds later, this is what happened. Okay, so he and the team are the beneficiary of that really well applied stick technique in the SAC acronym, even though he never had the chance to get to the other 4 elements. So now let's look at the comparison here with Nashville. So thinking back to the Victoria clip in Prince George where the stick could be a little bit better, this is similar. So very good in many ways from Nashville as far as the stick being on the ice and attempting to close a passing lane. In this particular circumstance, the player makes the decision to essentially anticipate where he thinks the puck might go. Again, that's not wrong, but is there a way to maybe create a little bit more influence and a little bit more certainty and pressure defensively in order to retrieve the puck? And you can see the Arizona player here is able just to take a little bit of extra time and space to look off, change the puck angle, and make a pass to close support, and Arizona's out of the zone. Versus if we think about that F1, maybe applying that stick and angle technique a little bit differently there, perhaps that could give them a better offensive opportunity and a chance at possession. So we're going to look at Team Canada now, and this is from the female game, the women's side. And I have to say, we actually draw a lot of knowledge from watching the women's game. It's so well coached and so well executed at every level, but particularly the highest levels. And this is Team Canada. This is Mickelson, right defense for Canada. Absolutely stellar execution here, not just as a team, as far as the forward and the D cooperating to gather and influence the American player. So there's your positional leverage, but also watch Mickelson and her technique, partly the pivot, but also the stick. And that's the distinction I want to draw here, is how important that stick position is to influence the play. And she could have been passive with that, or she could have had it in the air, but instead she's very aggressive and precise with it at the puck. And it creates such limited options for the US that's basically a free puck. A little bit of acceleration and incidental contact there as well help influence the play. But now it allows Canada to outnumber around the puck and initiate a breakout. So tremendous execution there. And again, I really believe that that's something that we can learn a lot from as far as how the women's game is taught and coached and executed, because I know we certainly do in Victoria. And this would be, again, be just another example. I'm not saying this is wrong, but is there a greater advantage here? So here's F1 for Nashville, aggressive on the forecheck. And this is a finished check. No doubt it would be a check mark on the clipboard. There's an element of wearing the opposition down, creating a psychological advantage, etc. You can see where the puck is, and in relation to the player's stick, is there a more advantageous way potentially to get possession of the puck here in the offensive zone for Nashville? And we can see a pretty easy breakout here for Arizona. So a lot of good there and very well intentioned, but there may be some extra things we could do as F1 to help us get the puck. Moving now to the angle. So this is the second component, not just of the acronym, but of this positional leverage concept that we're borrowing from football. So F1 and F2 tracking for Victoria in blue, but watch F3 and watch not only his stick, but watch the pronounced angle. He's really thinking through this as far as which way he wants the Kelowna player to go so he can apply the check. So let's watch that again. There's the stick. You can see him beginning and continuing the angle. He's not running straight at the player. He's not taking a direct route where, again, it could be inadvertently kneeing or elbowing, or he could get walked. He's creating an angle, positional leverage, steering and influencing the player. You can call it gathering or herding or tracking, but he's applying those concepts here to move the player towards the boards, create the advantage, and cut him off before the red line. And all the other aspects of the sack technique are there as well. Accelerate, contact, contain. The angle is really, really important there though. And then that allows Victoria to recover, move into a regroup situation. And again, just as far as getting buy-in from the athletes, you know, you could make the argument here, 3 or 4 seconds of work by Pfizer without the puck gets him and his team now the chance to go play offense, have some fun, and hopefully create a scoring chance or a goal. So offensive concept there in that way. A little bit of a comparison. So watch the right defenseman here for Philadelphia. The stick is noticeable, obviously, initially because it's in the air and in the hands, potentially a penalty, but he gets away with it. Then again, similar to the Nashville forechecking clip, again, not wrong, but it's one approach where this player is anticipating where that puck might go and is trying to close that passing lane, but in our view, potentially has lost his leverage there, because it's giving this lane, a lane to the net, to Gallagher, and Gallagher makes a very good play here, of course, to put the puck behind his back. But would it be better, perhaps, for Philadelphia's right defenseman here to maintain the angle, maintain the leverage, maintain the stick at puck from this path, and then create that wedge or that leverage situation against the boards with Gallagher? Could that be a bigger advantage? So here, with the defensive position lost, Gallagher obviously makes a great play coming off the wall and creates the goal. So that would be something we might illustrate to our players as far as, is there a better path we could take here to create better positional leverage? And here's an example now on the positive side again. So this is F1 for Victoria in blue. This is Cutler. You can see him using his stick initially to cut off the ice and begin to steer and influence. Now he gets aggressive with his stick, turning it over and putting it at the puck. You can really see his path there. And watch that inside-out skating path as he begins the forecheck situation right there. And it's creating a limited number of options for the Kelowna player. So the Kelowna player makes, you know, probably a good decision here just to make sure it's a high percentage exit and there's no danger inside his zone. But because of the influence of the checker, there's room for error. And with a little bit too much pace on the puck, it ends up going for icing. And this now becomes a huge advantage for the opposition. Victoria now can change personnel if they want. They have an offensive zone draw. The opponent for Kelowna, for Victoria, excuse me, is in D zone and can't change personnel, and that's how those incremental advantages add up. And then another example here, defenseman for Las Vegas, just to draw this point. Some really good things here. Inside out, through the dot, good stick at puck. You can see as the Dallas player decides to change his path and his momentum. One thing we would say in this clip is the stick is good, but the angle now has been lost. And to a large extent, you're often following your stick, yes, but sometimes the stick and the body have to work independently. And maintaining that positional leverage is also about maintaining the lineup of the shoulder containment and the hip containment. And when that gets lost, and if you are only following the puck as part of your skating path, you can end up losing that positional leverage. And you can see here that gives Dallas an opportunity to move into an offensive position. So how could Las Vegas maybe do this a little bit better is the stick at puck, but then maintaining that positional leverage, the angle to influence the puck carrier where we want him to go, including potentially controlling his skating, open pivoting, and reestablishing that leverage into the corner. So a lot of real good things there from the Las Vegas defenseman. Potentially the path might give him an even greater advantage to apply the check right away. Acceleration. We're going to go back to the women's game here. I'm going to try my best to pronounce this name, so apologies to the player, any francophone attendees, but Poulin. And Poulin at this point is F1 in the forecheck, and you can see a great execution here, not just of the angle, but of the stick. So there's that positional leverage gathering and influencing the American player towards the wall, using the boards to their advantage. But now watch the acceleration. So watch the athletic posture, the knee and hip bend, driving, continuing to skate, and influencing the player, pushing them towards the boards where they really can't do much. And then continuing the skating, continuing the drive through the legs, now checking through the hands. Goal here is to separate the puck from the puck carrier. She's accomplished that. And that gives Canada collectively the opportunity to recover the puck and generate offense as a team in the offensive zone. So a beautiful application of that technique right there in the women's game. Now here's the contact, and this is where I really want to emphasize the importance of the physicality, particularly in the men's game. And we don't want to lose that. It's an important aspect of the game. This, in our view, is a great example of how it's applied. So you can see the angle and the stick here being applied by F1 for St. Louis. Burns is the player with the puck right now. And this is in 2019, so the Blues Stanley Cup year, and this is in the playoffs. And you can see not just the stick and the angle and the acceleration, but now the contact. So that constant threat, physical and psychological threat of the physicality, the legal check, wearing the opponent down, and in this case, really knocking Burns off balance. So now as St. Louis recovers to the net front, the St. Louis checker does, we basically have a numerical advantage in the house for St. Louis, a 2-on-1 at the net or a 3-on-2 in or near the house with Burns still off balance. And it's because of the physicality and the completion of the check after stick, the angle, and the acceleration for a goal. And then finally, the containment. So this relates now to maintaining the physical and positional leverage after the application of the check. So this is McAvoy, right defenseman for Boston in rush defend. One of the things I want to point out here as well before the clip plays is, in our view, as I mentioned at the beginning, this can be applied all over the ice. Defenseman in rush defend, defenseman pivoting to skate forwards, F1 on the forecheck, F3 in the offensive zone, center support low, neutral zone tracking, neutral zone forecheck. We've seen all of those examples, and so we really do think it's broadly applicable. So watch McAvoy now coming out of the pivot, similar to the Mickelson clip, and you can see the stick at the puck right there. So here, the stick and the angle is creating the gathering concept here, like we saw from Seattle. And now there's the acceleration, the athletic posture. The Tampa Bay player is actually trying to avoid this check. So the check isn't perfect. He does get contact on him, but watch right here, his intention, clear awareness and intention to contain. What I mean by that right there is he's looking and seeing, okay, where's my opponent? Where's that check? Do I need to box him out? Where's the puck? Do I need to recover to a defensive zone coverage position? Or can I potentially join the rush as a fourth attacker and maybe go score a goal? And so it's that containment, the idea of being quick and physical, but in control, and always ending up in a position of advantage, as opposed to making a great check, but then spinning out of control, flying against the glass, stick in the air. Maybe the Tampa Bay player is beating him back to the net now. So quick and aggressive by McAvoy, but in control. And guess what? Now you see with Boston in possession, here he is getting ready to go and a chance to potentially make a contribution up ice as a fourth attacker, an offensive player. So again, offensive concept as much as it is a defensive one. And so this is the result that we feel when this is applied consistently. I know it's not going to be perfect every time. And again, we make room for hitting and physicality and all those things, but we really have seen an increase in puck possession, offensive opportunities, scoring chances, a decrease in needless penalties as well, and a decrease in penalty kills. And so we really believe that the opportunity is there. And this can be the result if taught this way. Many ways to do it, as I mentioned, but this is one way that we feel strongly about. So I'm going to close it with two clips, one hockey clip and then one, again, just conceptual clip, although it does relate to hockey. So this is Victoria in the offensive zone against Vancouver. Think back to the beginning of the presentation where we saw F1 Pfizer influencing the play in Prince George. That was on this side of the ice. And then we saw F3, excuse me, from above, not applying this technique properly. Stick in the air, no angle, very perpendicular, direct approach, and Prince George easily broke out and Victoria was chasing. But now let's watch this done properly. So watch F3 for Victoria. There's the stick, extended, there's the angle, there's the acceleration, contact, containment. Let me run that back and you can see what happens based on this player's contribution. And again, he barely, if at all, touched the puck. Creates the offensive advantage, quick in transition with Vancouver beginning to attack. And so again, even though it was really the defenseman and in this case Schultz here that connected on the goal on the score sheet, Gannon for Victoria, who was F3 there, made a tremendously valuable and impactful play using the sack technique to create the offense. And so again, that's why we say it's an offensive example. And here it is again, just in slow motion close up. Stick angle, accelerate, contact, contain, watch him keep working and driving, creates the loose puck and the offensive advantage. And the final thing I want to say, just to wrap up, is obviously this summer, unfortunately, Eddie Shack passed away. And there's a great tribute that Sportsnet put together this summer just to really honor and reflect on Mr. Shack's career and contribution to the game as a player and as a person. And so I think it would be incomplete if we didn't have a little bit of Mr. Shack in this video as far as checking and physicality and how to turn that into energy and goal scoring as well. So what I want you to take away here is if the sack technique isn't for you, then you've always got the Shack technique.
Brian McFarlane wrote a song, Clear the Track, Here Comes Shaq. Clear the track, here comes Shaq. He knocks it down and he gives him a whack. He can score goals, he's loving that. Eddie Shack. That was #1 on the hit parade for 6 weeks. Better than the Beatles, better than Elvis.
So that's it for the presentation, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in and listening, and I hope it's been helpful.